Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to Watchbox, and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email me, tmosso@thewatchbox.com. It's in the description below. It is your purchase and pricing email question line for buying this or any watch you see on any Watchbox platform. Please reach out to me directly. Email tmosso@thewatchbox.com for pricing. Today we are discussing the Rolex Oyster Perpetual Day-Date 40. This is a special gem set, reference 228345RBR in Ever Rose Red Gold. The watch measures 40 millimeters in diameter, it's 12 millimeters thick, and from lug tip to lug tip, the end links don't actually project beyond the lugs. The total distance across the wrist, lug to lug, is 47.5 millimeters. We have a 21 millimeter spacing between the lugs. We'll throw this watch on my wrist to get a sense of how it fits, and it fits nicely. One of the differences between the Day-Date 2 and the Day-Date 40 is that the end links of the current President bracelet are pivoted. They pull straight down out of the lugs, whereas on the Day-Date 2, the end links were solid, and so the bracelet wanted to flare out, meaning it wore a lot bigger than it was. This wears just fine on my wrist, and I think you could actually wear it on a wrist as small as 14 centimeters circumference. I've got plenty of clearance on either side. You can see that well from the top, and it's a low-hanging watch that sits easily underneath a cuff or a sleeve. The bracelet is the President, which has been a part of the Day-Date line since the original bout back in 1956, so it's a three-link design with all solid center links. It's more robust than the Jubilee, but it retains the short link profiles of the Jubilee for supple feel and actually vents the wrist better than either the Jubilee or the Oyster, so it's a nice all-around bracelet. Also, on the Day-Date 40, the pins that actually hold the bracelet together internally are ceramic coated so that the gold cannot aggress against the pins, wear them down, and cause bracelet stretch, so that is officially done with. There's a little bit of an integration as the end link conforms to the case profile for more of an all-of-a-piece look. And then there is a tapering of the links. In profile, they're polished, the center's polished, the shoulders are satinated for contrast. Removable links are fixed in place by screws, so you can size this with a jeweler's screwdriver. We still have the legendary crown clasp, which cloaks the partition point. Your only cue is the position of the 5-point coronet. But you pull it up now, and you can see that the mechanism is more complicated than it was in previous decades, as we have a beak and a hook system, and these two things latch together, and you can't actually just pull it open. You do need to unlatch it, so you have a greater degree of security against accidental deployment. We have a polished interior, and the gauge of the metal is thick. You can see that the case, the bracelet, the clasp are all red gold. Rolex calls this Ever Rose, and it debuted back in 2005. It is redder than standard rose gold because it has a higher percentage of copper, and it is more corrosion resistant because it has a higher percentage of platinum. Hence, it is ever rosy. It will not fade to a lighter shade with time. We have a twin lock crown in gold. You know that because you see the two dots. That means a twin lock in gold. We have a solid Oyster case back. The watch has 100-meter water resistance. The bezel is set by hand with brilliant cut diamonds, and gem setting at Rolex is still done using historical methods. So gem setting is the last part of the Rolex operation other than putting a movement in the case that is still performed manually. So this is truly a handmade watch from Rolex. The process of setting gems is done on this watch exactly as it would have been done in the 19th century. The Oyster case is handsomely decorated with full polish on the profiles as well as the lug hoods. The lugs taper nicely. The bezel features brilliant cut gems that are equal in the 3 C's. So you have color, clarity, and carats, and they're equal all the way around. So there's a wonderful symmetry to them. There's no visible gradient. Sapphire crystal, Cyclops eye magnifier, sunburst metallic green dial base with a lovely gilt style, rose gold printing, rose gold indices, hands, and crown in 18 carats. They won't oxidize or tarnish over time. We have a watchmaker's 4. You can see that the numerals are made up of little faceted batons, so they twinkle quite handsomely in the light. They do wonderful things that way. Rolex dial quality is best in the industry. At the mainstream luxury level, only Grand Seiko is playing at this level of skill. Now, the dial does include 2 different displays. We have the day and the date, and this is a double quick set. So in the intermediate setting position, one direction sets the date, One direction sets the day. You'll also note a wonderfully serify font used for the numerals, and of course, if you pull the crown out all the way, hacking seconds. Inside, we have Rolex manufactured caliber 3255 automatic winding bidirectional winding action. Uses a rotor bearing rather than the 3155's jeweled staff, so that makes it more shock tolerant. 4 Hz beat rate, 31 joules, chronometer certified movement, but Rolex then takes the chronometer certified movement, cases it up, tests it in positions 6. And that's one more than a standard chronometer. It also is a full cased-up watch test, and it goes beyond chronometer tolerances. Rolex guarantees these watches to run no worse than -2 + 2 seconds per day out of the factory, hence the superlative chronometer nomenclature on the dial. Now, it has a full balance bridge with a free-sprung balance for precise adjustment, but also shock tolerance. It has an overcoil hairspring made by hand, so in any position, the watch will keep consistent time, as an overcoil has a more centered mass than a flat hairspring, and that overcoil is made of a blue oxidized niobium zirconium alloy Rolex calls Powerchrom Blue that is highly anti-magnetic, and Rolex makes all of the movement, including the shock protection springs themselves, which are called Paraflex, and the lubricants, which Rolex crafts in-house. Reach out to Team Mosso at thewatchbox.com for purchase and pricing details.